Good evening, 4-3. Tonight we're going to start with lesson 14-9, changing metric units. This is going to be a tough lesson, so I'm really going to need you to pause the video several times, get a piece of paper out, practice the different strategies I teach you. Please practice the problems over and over again. Do not rush through this lesson, or you are going to have a problem with this concept. So please take your time with this lesson. I want you to understand what these different prefixes mean. We've been talking about suffixes and root words and prefixes in class, but let's understand it in math, what these prefix words means. The word milli means, and there's our decimal, 1/1000ths. 1/1000ths. Centi means 1/100th. Deci means 1/10. And a kilo, we're looking at 1,000, and that is a whole. Tonight's focus question is, how do you change metric units? I just want you to see this graph of the different measurements of what they're equal to in length, capacity, and mass. We have 1 meter equals 1,000 millimeters. 1 centimeter equals 10 millimeters. 1 decimeter equals 10 centimeters. 1 meter equals 100 centimeters. 1 kilometer is equal to 1,000 meters. In capacity, we have 1 liter is equal to 1,000 milliliters. And in mass, we have 1 gram that equals 1,000 milligrams. And 1 kilogram is equal to 1,000 grams. Notice, 4-3, that when the unit of measure is bigger, it's going to have a smaller number next to it. And when the unit of measure is smaller, it's going to have a bigger number next to it. Grams is bigger than milligrams. So it's going to have a 1 next to it because this unit of measure is bigger. This unit of measure is smaller, so it has to have a larger number next to it. That is when we know that we have to divide and multiply. We did that in a previous lesson. A large monarch butterfly's wingspan is about 10 centimeters long. How long is this in millimeters? Now we are using this in meters. That's our measurement unit. And we're going from a large unit, which is centimeters, is larger than millimeters. We have to first see that. Because when we notice that we're going from a large to a small, we are going to multiply. Remember, larger units to smaller units, we multiply. So if we want to convert 10 centimeters to millimeters, if we refer back to our chart, we need to think, how many centimeters is equal to how many millimeters? 1 centimeter is equal to 10 millimeters. So since we're going from a larger unit to a smaller unit, we are going to multiply. So 10 times 10 is equal to 100. So therefore, 10 centimeters is equal to 100 millimeters. Okay, when we work on these problems, always ask yourself, are we going from a larger unit of measure to a smaller unit of measure, or a smaller unit to a larger unit? Always ask yourself that question, and then you're going to know which direction that you need to go, meaning that you're going to have to multiply or divide. So now we're looking at a small monarch butterfly's wingspan, and that is about 60 millimeters. It's very small. How long is this in centimeters? So we're going from a small to a larger unit. So therefore, we are going to divide. Smaller to larger, we divide. So we have 60 millimeters. How many is 60 millimeters? How many centimeters is in 60 millimeters? So we need to think. 10 millimeters is equal to 1 centimeter. And because we're going from a smaller unit to a larger unit, we're going to divide. So 60 divided by 10 is equal to 6. So 60 millimeters is equal to 6 centimeters. Here's another example. 1 kilogram and 125 grams is equal to, less than, or greater than 1,380 grams. So we're now getting into mass. So let's refer to our chart. How much is 1 kilogram? Because we want to be able to convert this side into just grams. So since we have this part already in grams, let's focus on converting this one. Over here, 1 kilogram is equal to 1,000 grams. So all we need to do is add 1,000 and what we have over here, 125 grams, and we have 1,125 grams. So which one is greater? This side. 1,380 grams is larger than 1 kilogram, 125 grams. Instead of always having to focus on the metric unit chart that you just saw previously, we can use this great metric conversion chart. I love using this one. This one says, King Henry died unusually drinking chocolate milk. Sometimes we say this chart is King Henry doesn't usually drink chocolate milk. But whatever way you like, you could use. I love writing out this chart. When I was younger, I would make this chart out and I would just memorize it because I need to remember that the K stands for kilo, and we know that is 1,000 units. The H, which we're not really going to focus on, is hecto, and that's 100 units. The D over here stands for deca, and that's 10 units. Then the U is considered the base unit, and that's always just 1 unit. The D here for the drinking is deci, 1 unit. The C represents centi, and the M stands for milli, very tiny. That's 1,000ths. If you look at the bottom, it tells you, remember when we talked about from smaller to bigger, we are going to divide, and bigger to smaller, we're going to multiply. So if you look over here, it's telling you the same thing that I just said. If you're going from small to big, you're going to divide. If you're going from big to small, you're going to multiply. And you do this just by moving the decimal point from one space to the left or one space to the right. For example, 5 kilograms is equal to how many centigrams? So watch, I'm going to put my 5 here, and because it's a whole number, I've taught you this before, there's an imaginary decimal point that's always to the right of the number. How many spaces do I need to move this decimal point in order to get to centi? I'm going to move 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I put my new decimal point there, and I fill this up with zeros because we are multiplying. And this becomes 500,000 centimeters. All right, here's the chart again. Now let's try this. 1 kilogram is equal to how many grams? Now we're going, remember, a kilogram, very big. It's 1,000. So this is going to be very big measurement. So if we know we're going from a big unit of measure to a small unit of measure, we're going to multiply. So we're moving the decimal point to the right. And grams, where is that on the chart? Where that is going to be in the base unit right here. So we want to move our decimal point to this location. So here is 1, and we're going to move this how many times to the right? 1, 2, 3. So our 1. How many do we move it over? We moved it 1, 2, 3. There's our new decimal point. And in those little holes, we're putting zeros. So 1,000 kilograms is equal to 1,000 grams. The next example, we're starting off with 600 centimeters. So we're starting here. And we want to go to meters. Where's meters in our metric conversion chart? Here. Here's our base unit, meters. So how many times do we have to move our decimal point? Well, here's going to be this is where we're going, but notice we're going from a small unit to measure to a bigger unit. So we're going to have to divide. We're moving our decimal point to the left. So it's 1, 2. So if we put our 600 here and here's our decimal point because it's a whole number, we're moving it 1, 2, 2 times to the left, 1, 2. What is our new number going to be? 6. 600 centimeters is equal to 6 meters, which makes sense because this is a larger unit of measure. This is a smaller unit of measure, so this number has to be smaller than this number. All right, another example. We're going from 4 liters is greater than, less than, or equal to 7,000 milliliters. Remember, that's small. So here is liters, which is our base unit, and we want to go to milliliters. So now we know that we're going from liters to milliliters. We're going from big to small. We're going to multiply. So let's figure this out. What we want to convert just this side only. We want to convert this side to milliliters to see if we are going to be higher, less than, or equal to 7,000. So here's our 4, and there's our decimal point, always to the right because it's a whole number, and we're moving it how many times? To the right. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. There's our decimal point, and then we fill these little holes with zeros. So 4,000 is obviously 4 liters is less than 7,000 milliliters. Our next example, 553 kilometers is equal to how many meters? So here we are over here, because this is the kilo, and this is our meters, the base unit for the U, base unit, meter. So we want to move our decimal point 1, 2, 3 times over. So converting this to meters, 553, and our decimal point is always to the right because it's a whole number. And we're moving this to the right because we're multiplying, because we have a bigger unit measure to a smaller unit. So we're moving it 3 times. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, and we put our decimal point there. In these little holes, we put zeros. So it's 553,000 meters is equal to 553 kilometers. Our next example, 4 2/10 kilogram is equal to how many grams? So on our chart, here is kilo, and over here is grams, because that's our base unit. How many times are we going to move our decimal point? We're going from left to right. So 4 2/10, we're moving it how many times? 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. And there's our decimal point. And with these little holes, we got to fill them up. So this is 4 2/10 of a kilogram is equal to 4,200 grams, which makes sense because kilogram is a large unit of measure and it needs a smaller number. And the grams is a smaller unit of measure, so it needs a larger number because we basically multiplied. That's what we did. Our next example is 8,632 meters is equal to how many centimeters? Meters is our base unit, so it's right over here. We're starting here. Meters. And we are going to centimeters. So we are going from here to the right. So I'm going to write out my number, 8,632 meters. And next to that, I'm going to put my imaginary decimal, because next to the right of the whole number is always a decimal. How many times are we moving? Let's see. 1, 2. 1, 2. There's our new decimal point. And in these holes, we put zeros. So this one becomes 863,200 centimeters. So 8,632 meters is equal to 863,200 centimeters. Our next example. 3 meters is equal to, greater than, less than, 200 centimeters. So you need to choose a side which one you want to convert. I'm just going to convert this side. I'm going to convert meters into centimeters. So let's see. I locate the meter in the base unit, which we're going to be right here. There's our meter. Which direction is centimeters? That is this way. It's going to the right. So I'm going to put my 3 and a decimal point, because to the right of a whole number is always the decimal point. How many times am I moving that decimal point? Well, for meters, 1, 2, 1, 2. There's my new decimal point, and in those holes I put my 2 zeros. So this one becomes 300 centimeters. So who is greater? The 3 meters, because that's equal to 300 centimeters. So this is greater. Hello there. My name is King Henry, and I would like to see if you have been listening. So why don't you give it a try? I do love my chocolate milk, and I do not plan on sharing it with anybody. All right, 4-3. Now you really should be taking out that piece of paper and pencil and actually trying this out. I want to see you working on this. Do not guess, because I can see how fast you're moving through each one of these problems. Please take your time and look at the chart. All right, 23 decimeters is equal to how many centimeters? 32 kilometers is equal to how many meters? Remember, the meters is with the base unit. 1 kilogram is greater than, less than, or equal to 100 grams. Remember, you need to choose the side that you're going to convert. Do not convert both sides. Choose one side to convert. 552 kilometers is greater than, less than, or equal to 552,000 meters. 13,000 grams is greater than, less than, or equal to 10 kilograms. 352 centimeters is equal to how many meters? 100 milliliters is greater than, less than, or equal to 1 liter. 600 kilograms is greater than, less than, or equal to 6 grams. Wonderful work, 4-3. I can't wait to work with you on this tomorrow. I'm sure it was quite challenging, and I really hope you put your best effort into this lesson. Have a wonderful, pleasant evening.